A deeply troubling discussion has emerged in parts of Europe after a man speaking in a recent video defended the idea of underage marriages, claiming such practices should be accepted as a form of protection under religious law. His remarks have reignited a fierce debate about cultural integration, legal consistency, and the protection of vulnerable young people across the continent. We'll dive into this story in today's video, but before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Right now, only 12% of viewers are subscribed, so join the community and help us grow. European courts have been clear. Child marriage has no place in modern society. The continent's highest legal authorities have repeatedly upheld strict bans, reaffirming that the welfare and autonomy of minors must come before any cultural or religious justification. Yet the fact that these arguments are still being made shows the growing tension between European values and the imported traditions that sometimes clash with them. Women's rights advocates have raised the alarm, pointing to a rising number of forced or coerced marriages being reported in several European cities, particularly among migrant communities. Many fear the problem is underreported, with cultural pressure and family control preventing victims from seeking help. This debate isn't simply about law, it's about the kind of Europe people want to live in. A Europe where equality, consent, and human rights are non-negotiable, or one that looks the other way in the name of tolerance. These are uncomfortable conversations, but necessary ones. Protecting children should never be up for debate, no matter who objects or what belief system is invoked to justify it. Have a listen to this man speak about it.
Kurze Erinnerung, Leute, dass das Heiraten von jungen Mädchen völlig in Ordnung sein sollte, okay? Weil es ein Schutzmechanismus ist. Die Scharia, das ist kein Fehler der Scharia, das ist ein Benefit, ein Vorteil der Scharia, weil er Menschen schützt. Sobald sie in dem Alter sind, wo sie Beziehungen eingehen, Leute, was früh ist generell, mehr oder weniger, das ist eine Situation, wo sehr viel Schaden entsteht oft und Menschen sich gegenseitig für ihre Körper benutzen. Und deswegen ist Heiraten hier, Leute, das Richtige. Das ist das, was Menschen schützt, Bindungen aufrechterhält, Bindungen festigt. Das ist der richtige Weg, Leute. Ein Vorteil der Scharia, kein Fehler. Habt einen schönen Tag.
There can be no compromise when it comes to the protection of children. Europe's laws were built to safeguard the vulnerable, not to bend under pressure from cultural or religious customs that contradict basic human rights. If the continent is serious about defending its values, it must enforce its laws consistently and without apology. Tolerance should never mean turning a blind eye to harm. Every child deserves freedom, safety, and a future built on equality. And that begins with having the courage to say, some practices have no place in modern Europe, no matter who defends them. In other news, a former security chief at HMP Wandsworth has delivered a damning verdict about the scandal-stricken London prison. On Wednesday, it was revealed that a second sex offender, Brahim Kadur Sherif, was accidentally freed from the South London prison on October 29th, but the police service were only notified just after 1 p.m. yesterday. Kadur Sharif, who is now an illegal migrant after overstaying his visa, was serving time for trespass with an intent to steal. He was previously convicted of indecent exposure. Soon after, Surrey police released a second damning statement about HMP Wandsworth earlier today, confirming a convicted fraudster had also been mistakenly released. The convict, identified by Surrey police as 35-year-old William Smith, was wrongly released on November the 3rd, just 5 days after Kadur Sharif. Speaking recently to Nigel Farage, Ian Atchison offered a damning indictment of the British jail, hitting out at the state of the British prison system. He commented, "First of all, it's rather interesting that the Metropolitan Police statement has said that they were informed by HM Prison and Probation Service of this release in error 6 days later. What we don't know is when the prison service actually knew this release in error had taken place. There's quite a lot of distance between informed and knew about, and I'm just wondering, given the calamity of this second release and the extent of the security failure, Did they know beforehand, and was there a desperate, panicked operation in place to try to get this person back into custody before it broke into the media again? During a fiery clash in the Commons over the dispatch box during Prime Minister's questions, the Deputy Prime Minister and Shadow Defence Secretary sunk their teeth into one another as David Lammy dodged James Cartledge's question about whether any more asylum seekers had been released in error. The Ministry of Justice said the Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary found out about the error at HMP Wandsworth overnight. The Labour MP refused to answer the question because information was still emerging about the complicated case involving multiple agencies, sources said. I don't think David Lammy covered himself in glory at all, the dispatch box, the head of security declared. He hasn't conducted himself properly in relation to the first release scenario of Kabatu, when he seemed to lose his temper, and he did the same thing again. Ordinary people are aghast at these repeated security failures and expect accountability to come from the government, and we haven't seen that. We've seen a degree of obfuscation, frankly. He added, if this disaster was going to happen anywhere at all in Britain after the release scenario of Kabatu, it would have happened at HMP Wandsworth, a 20-minute car ride from headquarters, a prison in free fall in plain sight, in absolute chaos for years, with nothing being done to fix it, with a very large population of foreign national offenders. It would have happened there, and it did. He also explained wider problems in the nation's prison service, dubbing it gutted of experience and personnel for years, ever since absolutely criminally stupid austerity measures were introduced. After Daniel Khalif escaped from the London jail in 2023, the prison service conducted an internal review of the security at Wandsworth. Leaked data indicated that there were 81 separate failures in safety, and security had occurred in the process leading up to Khalif's escape. And that included things like inadequate staffing and experienced staffing, staff asleep at their posts, staff looking at their phones instead of what was in front of them, he told Nigel. Violent disorder erupted in Birmingham overnight as mobs of youths hurled fireworks at police officers. Late on Wednesday night, West Midlands Police said 4 teenage boys had been arrested and taken into custody on suspicion of violent disorder. Police said they also seized weapons in response to officers being attacked in the Dale End area of the city. The force said, disorder involving young people saw fireworks released in a dangerous manner, as member of the public and our officers were attacked. Officers added that the chaos would not be tolerated, but later, live stream footage showed another flare-up on the second city's Stanleyford Street. Hundreds of youths were seen rampaging around, some hurling fireworks, with police officers and cars then arriving at the scene. Social media footage showed clashes deep into the early hours, with masked young men appearing to hurl flares at cars, police, and each other. One video showed groups of youths in dark clothing and with their faces covered crowding around an underpass. Fireworks could be seen shooting down the street as people ran through the road. Another video showed police arriving on the scene as hundreds of people fled. Then, just before 6 a.m., further footage emerged of WMP officers storming a car park between Lancaster Street and Stanleyford Street as youths kept firing fireworks from their hands. A Section 60 order had earlier been put in place until 6 a.m. on Thursday to allow police to stop and search people without the need to have reasonable grounds. According to its website, Stanleyford House is home to 586 students and provides rooms from £139 a week. Confirming no one had been seriously hurt, Inspector Matthew Minton said, "We had robust plans in place tonight to respond to any bonfire night disorder. Behavior like what we have seen this evening simply won't be tolerated." GB News has approached West Midlands Police for further comment regarding events in Stanleyford Street. Also on Wednesday night, a 14-year-old was arrested in Liverpool after emergency services were targeted with fireworks as they responded to a blaze on the balcony of a third-floor flat. Merseyside Police confirmed first responders had been called to Knowsley Heights on Primrose Drive following reports of youths launching fireworks at buildings. 5 fire engines arrived at the scene before the flames were put out. However, as firefighters responded to the blaze and police officers were on the scene, they were attacked, leaving one female officer with a minor leg injury. Chief Inspector Kevin Chatterton said, "We will not tolerate this type of disgraceful behavior, particularly when it involves emergency services staff being targeted in such a way." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.